As soon as I opened the front door, I could hear them arguing. Recently, it was all they seemed to do.
Why do you always have to complain about everything?
Well, if you weren't so lazy, I wouldn't have to complain, would I?
It made me so sad that my parents seem to hate each other. You're probably thinking this is just another story about a miserable family. Well, just wait and see what you find out at the end of this video, because you are not gonna believe it.
Well, if that's what you think about me, maybe I should just move out.
Do you know that's the most sensible thing you have said in a very long time?
So that's what my dad ended up doing. I was upset that my parents were getting a divorce, but I knew it was for the best. They couldn't carry on living together when all they did was fight. When the day came for my dad to leave, my parents told me that I had to decide who I wanted to live with.
You are old enough to make your own decision. You must decide who you want to live with, me or your father.
But how could I make that choice? I loved both of my parents. How could I pick one over the other? So I decided I would just leave it to chance. I can't choose between you two, so I'm gonna flip a coin. If it's tails, I live with Dad. If it's heads, I will live with you, Mom. I spun the coin high up into the air and watched as it spun around and around before finally catching it on the back of my hand. I lifted my hand up and looked at the coin. Tails.
So you will go with your father?
I looked at Mom sadly. I'm gonna miss you, Mom.
Don't be silly, we will see each other all the time. You can still come over and stay with me.
I gave my mom a hug and Dad and I left. At first, it was a bit strange living with just my dad, but before long, we settled into our routine and it was all fine. To be honest, it was nice just living in a house with no arguing or fighting. I went to see my mom whenever I could and she seemed a lot happier too. But then one day, things changed. I had just got home from school and was in the kitchen making a sandwich when I heard my dad come in.
Beth, come here. There's someone I want you to meet.
I went through to the lounge and saw my dad was there with a woman.
This is Riza. She's my girlfriend.
Your what?
My girlfriend, Beth.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What does he want a girlfriend for? I wanted to tell him that he shouldn't have a girlfriend, that it would just ruin everything, but instead I just smiled at her. Hi, pleased to meet you.
And I'm very happy to meet you too, Beth. More than you will ever know.
That's a bit weird.
I'll leave you two to get to know each other. I'll just go and make us a cup of tea.
My dad left the room and I sat down on the sofa, not really knowing what to say.
You are very pretty, Beth.
Oh, thank you. She reached over and started touching my hair. I started getting a bit freaked out, but luckily my dad came back just in time.
So, you two getting along okay?
Brilliantly, aren't we, Beth?
Yeah, I guess so. There was something really strange about Riza. I couldn't put my finger on it, but she was definitely a bit weird. She was paying me far too much attention. It made me feel really uncomfortable. From that day on, Riza spent all of her time at our house, and the weird feeling didn't go away. In fact, it got even more intense. Sometimes I would look up from watching TV or reading a book and catch her staring at me. It really freaked me out. It all came to a head one Saturday evening. Dad and Riza had gone out for dinner and I had decided to have an early night. I was fast asleep in bed when something suddenly woke me. I opened my eyes and I saw Riza standing at my bedroom door just staring at me. I closed my eyes, but when I opened them again, she had disappeared. What is it with that woman? Why does she constantly stare at me? The next morning, when I was alone with my dad, I told him about what had happened the night before. It's just weird, Dad. She was just standing at the doorway staring at me.
Don't be silly, Beth. Riza wouldn't do that. You must have been hallucinating.
Maybe my dad is right. I suppose it could have just been a dream. I decided to give Riza the benefit of the doubt. Apart from the staring, she seemed nice enough. And my dad really liked her, so she couldn't be all that bad. Could she? It was nearly the end of the term when my dad told me he had a surprise for me.
We are going to go away in the holidays.
Where to?
We are going to Riza's hometown.
Where is it?
A long way from here. It's down south. It's a remote town in the middle of nowhere. It's going to be a fantastic adventure.
Even though I would have preferred to be going on holiday just with my dad, I couldn't help but get excited at the thought of traveling somewhere far away. I can't wait. I bet it'll be amazing there.
I think you might be right.
When the morning of our holiday arrived, the three of us packed up the car and set off on the long drive south. As we drove, the cities turned into towns and then to remote villages. Are we nearly there?
Not much further.
The roads started getting narrower and narrower until eventually they just became tracks through the grass.
We're here.
I looked out the car window. This looks more like a jungle than a remote town. We got out of the car.
Follow me.
I looked at my dad. Was it just me that thought Riza was sounding really weird and acting strangely? It was like she was a different person. But my dad didn't seem to notice. He just walked after Riza, beckoning me to follow them. We walked through the jungle and came out onto a clearing. There was a group of people standing there as though they were a welcoming party. I was expecting them to crowd around us and say hello, but instead one of them shouted,
Grab her!
The next thing I knew, I was surrounded by them, and they were dragging me away from my dad and Riza. What are you doing? Stop it! But they didn't listen to me. They pushed me into some kind of cage and locked the door.
Leave her alone! Riza, why are they locking Beth up?
Because she is special.
I saw the look of confusion on my dad's face.
Well, I know she is special to me, but why do they think she is special?
Because she has the rarest body in the world.
I wondered what on earth she was talking about. My body was just like anyone else's body. Definitely nothing special.
What do you mean?
Her mother was from the jungle as well, and you have the blood of the ancient ancestors from this jungle too. Together, you made the only child in the world to have this DNA.
But what are you going to do with her?
We are going to sacrifice her to the gods.
Panic started rising up inside me, and I thought I was gonna pass out. I could see the worried look on my dad's face when he heard what Riza was planning.
You have to release her. Set her free right now.
I'm sorry. We are not going to do that. She is too important to us.
But she is just a schoolgirl.
To you, maybe. But to us, she is the most important girl in the world.
Please, don't hurt me. I'll do anything you want. Please, don't sacrifice me.
I'm sorry. We don't have any choice.
Dad? Help me! Help me! My dad took one look at my panic-stricken face and ran towards the cage. He started pulling at the door, trying to break it open, but it was no use. Within seconds, he was surrounded by the villagers. They unlocked the door and threw him inside the cage with me. I ran over to him. Are you okay, Dad?
I'm fine.
The two of us sat huddled together watching and wondering what was about to happen next. Riza came over and stood outside the cage.
Don't try to escape because you won't get anywhere. I will see you in the morning.
With that, she turned around and walked off with the group of people. Oh, Dad, what are we gonna do?
Don't worry, Beth. I won't let anything happen to you.
But you heard what she said. There's no way for us to escape from here.
We will find a way. Don't worry.
The two of us sat there in the darkness. I was terrified. And suddenly, I heard a noise. Did you hear that? What was it?
I don't know. It came from that direction.
I looked to where my dad was pointing. It was pitch black, but I thought I could make out a shadow in the darkness. Who is it? Shh. Mom? I couldn't believe it. My mom was standing on the other side of the cage. What are you doing here? How did you know where to find us?
One of my close friends here in the jungle told me that my daughter and my ex-husband were here in the jungle. I just had a feeling that Riza was up to no good. I got here as soon as I could.
They said I have some rare body. They want to sacrifice me to the gods.
You have to get us out of here.
Okay, just stay quiet. I will look for something to break the lock.
Dad and I sat there in silence. It seemed like an eternity, but then my mom reappeared.
Stand back. I'm going to smash the lock with this stone.
Dad and I moved to the back of the cage, and I watched as my mom lifted the huge stone up into the air and brought it crashing down onto the lock. The lock smashed into pieces, and Mom quickly opened the door.
Come on. We don't have much time. We have to get out of here.
My dad pushed me out of the door, and I followed my mom through the jungle. I could hear shots from behind us.
Hurry. They know we have escaped.
We picked up the pace and raced through the jungle, but just as we were about to reach my dad's car, someone stepped out of the shadows.
Riza!
Stop! You can't leave. We need her.
You're crazy, Riza. You can't sacrifice my daughter.
I can and I will.
Is that the only reason you wanted to be my girlfriend? So that you could get close to Beth?
I admit that was the reason at first, but then I started to fall in love with you.
Well, if you love me, then let Beth go.
Riza looked like she was considering it, but then she just laughed.
You don't think I would put you before the gods, do you? You're the crazy one.
My dad looked at my mom and me and then reached inside his pocket. He threw his car keys to my mom.
Go! Take my car and get Beth out of here!
But what about you, Dad?
Don't worry about me. I will stay behind to block Riza and her people.
I stood there hesitating.
Go on, there's no time to lose.
Your dad is right, Beth. We have to get you out of here.
I love you, Dad.
I love you too.
Mom and I ran ahead and jumped into Dad's car. She started the engine and drove off just in time. As we drove away, I could see through the rear window the villagers running after the car. I can't believe Dad sacrificed himself to save us.
Your dad is a good man, Beth.
I looked at my mom, but I thought you hated him.
No, Beth, I don't hate him. Actually, I still love him, but we just couldn't live together.
Do you think you'll be okay?
Don't worry, as soon as we get to the next town, I'm going to stop and call the police. They will find him.
Mom did exactly what she said. As soon as we reached the first town, she drove straight to the police station.
I have to report a crime.
What is it?
The villagers from my hometown tried to sacrifice my daughter to the gods. Her father stayed behind to block them so that we could escape. You have to go back and save him.
That was 2 months ago. We still haven't heard any word from my dad. The police are still out looking for him. They think that he managed to escape from the villagers, but they have no idea where he is now. I can't stop thinking about what he did for me, and I just pray that one day the police will rescue him and bring him home to me.